Okay. That is Deathstalker. Yo, guys, what is up? Max on our first Descendant video. Today, we've got a bit of an updated Hailey build / interaction. Basically, they buffed Hailey up a ton, and they also buffed up a bunch of weapons. And there's a new synergy that is absolutely nuking bosses. That is like doing damage that competes with Serena on Hailey, and I wanted to showcase it to you guys. This is not a full like updated Hailey build guide because honestly, I just haven't gotten around to fully updating her, but I wanted to showcase this off because it's freaking awesome. I unfortunately leave to a flight tomorrow to LA for the next few days for something with Battlefield 6. But I wanted to get this video out, so hopefully this video goes live and you guys can see this because it's absolutely nutty and it's just deleting bosses. Hope you guys enjoy the breakdown. Let's get right into it. If you weren't convinced by the intro, by the way, this is Defiler. My gun is fully built for Toxic. Defiler is like very resistant to Toxic damage. And this is the gun. And he's gone. It's just gone. All right, this is Tormentor with a much smaller weak point. And he's gone. Okay. That is Deathstalker, who is resistant to toxic damage. Just so you know, I'm not bluffing. That's toxic circulation, poison priority, and we've built for toxic. It's just one tap Deathstalker. So the first thing to talk about with Hailey is her Cryo Rounds. Now, this is a debuff that she can inflict on enemies, and then whenever the next instance of damage hits an enemy that has a cryo stack on them, they receive additional damage. Now, this damage used to be, prior to her buffs, 50% of the damage that triggered it, meaning you're basically dealing 1.5x damage. Now, it's 200% additional damage on whatever damage procced it. And that stacks up to 9 times, so you're getting 9 shots in a row, all dealing the additional damage, or the base damage, plus 200% additional damage. And we've had such a meta of things that hit really, really fast, really, really hard, really often, such as the last dagger. But what Hailey cares a little bit more about is not how fast something's firing, because she's getting 9 stacks of this with her 1, but how hard something is hitting. And now with the hand cannon buffs, they buffed the Nazastras, they buffed the Peacemaker, and they also buffed the Perforator. And the Peacemaker is what we're going to be using for this build because it hits fast, so it can proc all those stacks often, but it also hits ridiculously hard. Currently, my Peacemaker has 10 times crit damage, so we're doing 10x damage when we crit. It has weak point cap, which is 10x weak point, and it also isn't affected by fire rate. So like any sort of fire rate mod that you put on doesn't actually increase the spray that it does, which means we can put even more damage mods on it, which is awesome. And it's not like funky or awkward to use like other hand cannons that do like shoot slowly. You can proc all of those 9 stacks basically instantly. And so the Peacemaker, which also just got like a 4x damage buff to its weak point damage, is what we're using here to basically insta-kill bosses. Now, I wouldn't have known about this interaction if it wasn't for a Reddit post about it, so I will leave that Reddit post down in the comments. You can go check them out. The original user that posted it, I was heavily inspired by that post to check this out. They built their Peacemaker for fire damage to go kill Gluttony. I built mine for full toxic, and it's still like 1-taps Gluttony. The reason I built mine for toxic is because we've got a new Abyss Hangman coming who's going to be weak to toxic damage, and so I'm prepping my weapons for him rather than building them for like current meta, because honestly, like current meta is only lasting another like 2 weeks. So I built mine for toxic. You could build yours however you want, but let's kind of do like a quick breakdown of Peacemaker and Hailey's synergy and interaction here. So with the Peacemaker, personally, I built mine heavily focused on crit and weak point damage. I went toxic with toxic enhancement, poison priority, and toxic circulation. We are using this for bossing. This is not a mobbing weapon. You're never, ever going to use this thing for mobbing. So toxic circulation actually works really well because you're not going to be using this weapon more often than like once you delete a boss with it. You could whip it out to delete an elite, but you're not going to be shooting a lot. So things that have cooldown, we don't really care about. It's just a ton more poison damage for us. And then we also go for a bunch of crit. This thing doesn't actually need any crit rate increase mods. Another reason why it's so powerful. It doesn't need fire rate mods and it doesn't need crit mods. So you can just build basically full damage. And it's very, very important to build weak point on this because weak point stacks up. As you can see here, we've got like 9.9x damage. Remember that the amount of damage that we're dealing is going to get amplified by basically 3x. So we want to hit really, really hard. And that's part of what that weak point shots are doing. That's why we have aiming plus weak point sight and special sight. You could go for a weapon magazine mod here and fire more times out of your Peacemaker, but I don't think there's a boss in the game right now besides like Abyss Dead Bride, because she's not weak to gun damage. She's only really weak to skill damage, but most things aren't surviving anyways, and like things like Payout and like Glay don't actually work for firing its special mode more often, so they're just not worth using. For the cores and stuff, I've got double crit damage rolls and mag size. This was still one-shotting things before I even put cores on it. Is kind of how strong this is. I've also got some more toxic attack, some crit damage, some damage versus Colossuses, and I rolled crit rate. In a perfect world, I'd probably substitute that crit rate out for more firearm attack. To be honest, I don't think Hailey technically needs it. For the external components, we're using the Annihilation set. We're not using things like Shell Crusher because Shell Crusher gives us more fire rate, and this thing is not affected by fire rate. So just Annihilation set for some good old-fashioned, old-school damage increase, and then you could use whatever reactor your heart desires. I'd rock something with like skill cost and cooldown, ideally. But once again, your reactor like really just doesn't matter for this. Now, for the scariest part of this video, I actually, for all of the gameplay that you just watched, had not put on defense neutralization. I had our Arche Tuning board over here for like cooldown, and I was just messing around with it, and I realized that this top slot is defense neutralization, which is going to give us defense down and reduce elemental resistance after we land a full skill hit. This is a massive multiplier to the damage that we're dealing. So yeah, all of the insta boss mounts now just got way stronger because I didn't have this on actually. So defense neutralization for the Arche Tuning board, I don't even have her level 40, but just make sure you grab like crit rate, crit damage, advantage affinity, get some extra firearm attack, and defense neutralization is definitely a must. It's going to make us deal a whole lot more damage. The inversions, you're going to want to pick whatever like elemental focus you are fighting against the boss. So if you're fighting against Gluttony, put it to fire. If you're fighting against Executor, put it to toxic. Whatever the enemy you're fighting is weakest to. And then you're going to want to put movement speed. Just nice to have. Doesn't really work for us. Like none of this stuff really matters. It is nice to throw on void resistance when your HP is 50% or lower. Intercept battles, you get void resistance, which reduces our incoming damage. Just make sure that like if the boss does get a hit off on you, it doesn't, or it has less likelihood of killing you because we are going to be low HP. Guys, it's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. This is crazy. It's a really, really fun interaction. Not something that I was expecting to be able to do. But huge credit to I Hardly Try Hard for the interaction, for posting it on Reddit. And I had a lot of fun messing around with this. I hope you guys enjoy trying it out for yourselves. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay tuned for like an actual full Hailey build. Take care, guys. Peace.